so we can all be more open and honest in our discussions. We will provide some resources for self-help, but everything we do is as is. We are not doctors, and this is not a formal mental health provision. All right. Lastly, if you enjoyed today's conversation and wish to be part of our brotherhood here at the Barbershop, please support us by clicking on the link posted in the chat to get your free Zoom invitation and reminder to our next session. All right, our last thing, right? I want to give a special shout out to our hosts, all right, Harry from Milwaukee and Craig from San Francisco, as these brothers come together to share their experience and expertise in a men's panel barbershop talk experience, okay? Before we get started, y'all, usually we got one rule. Today we got two rules, all right? First rule, be mindful of the group, all right? We want everyone to be heard. We ask to keep the talks from 1 to 2 minutes, depending on the group size, all right? Second rule, today we got, women involved, so we want to keep our language, all right? We want to be respectful today. We want to leave the profanity out, just try to be mindful that we got women involved today, y'all. So with that being said, Craig, Harry, take over, sirs.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good brothers.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, my name is I'm Craig Cook Sullivan. I'm your friendly neighborhood barber. I bring the energy, I bring the love, and I bring the fellas. My co-host, Brother Harry from Milwaukee. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, but I just like to say your name because you bald head up top.
I am bald headed up top, and I'm a first year bald man. I like to think I'm doing pretty well. I just got a tan on my head, so I'm entering the Chico Milk Dud stage. I'm trying to tap into my inner Morris chestnut, but I like hats, so here we are. But I am Harry Evans. I am from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, born and raised here. I still live here. I am a Black men's mental health advocate. I created my own platform called Heal Black Man. And the mission behind that is just to come together to form a bigger fist with like-minded men to not leave another Black man behind and pack a bigger punch. I believe that when we all come together and put our minds together, we are unstoppable because we are the wave. So it's been a pleasure to team up with The Good Life and Craig and the whole team to be able to come together and walk out the exact same mission, and that is to bring us all together for the greater good. So nice to meet you all again, and let's get started.
And I want to, before I introduce the ladies, I want to say good morning to all the fellas that returned, some of the new guys I see. I want to say thank you for being here. We really need you. We need each other. We all we got. Each one, reach one, teach one. And today's Zoom class is going to be really special because it's going to be talking about things that, a lot of Black men have, issues we have and that we don't deal with. So before I could go any further, I want to introduce a very special Dr. Green, Dr. Janelle Green, and very special to me because she's also my aunt. And along with her, I want to introduce Miss Alicia Johnson. And they're going to give us a little info about how we can live longer. So ladies, do your thing.
Can you guys hear me? Alicia, before you start, and you may have already said this, thank you so much for presenting with me. Alicia and I are both colleagues in the plant-based nutrition coach world. So she is a coach as well as I am. And she just happens to be one of my colleagues that specializes in working with men in heart disease and high blood pressure. So I was just happy when I got the information for the topic. I'm happy to have you here. I'll let you take it over.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. I appreciate that. And good morning to one and all. So I am so excited to be here to have this opportunity to share with you guys. Let me start off by saying you've already heard my name, Alicia Johnson. I had started my own journey a number of years ago to improve my health and just could not stick with it. We were talking about that a little bit this morning. I kept going back and forth to the things that I was giving up. In 2020, I met someone. Key thing here is I asked God for help. and he provided. And so I have a nutritional health coach. I also now have a fitness coach. And so I say that because I want you guys to realize the importance of not trying to do things on your own and by yourself. It's always key to ask for help, get help, especially if you continue to do something over and over again and you don't get the results that you want. Getting someone to help you is very key and important. I'm currently completing my certification, as Janelle said. My goal is to work with men who have heart disease. Excuse me. Part of my passion for that is that my mom has had hypertension all of her life for as long as I can remember, and not understanding that there was something that she could do about it. And now knowing that there are things that we definitely can do. I know a number of guys who are dear to me that I love them dearly, and they've all had heart attacks. And seeing the need to share this information to save our men and women as well, the information applies to women as well. So with that being said, I'm gonna let Ben fire up the PowerPoint so I can go through this with you guys. Thank you for having me here. And Janelle, thank you for inviting me to be here with you. So blood pressure is the pressure of blood pushing against the walls of your arteries. The arteries carry the blood to your heart, and then the heart pushes the blood out through the rest of your body. Did you all know that your heart really is probably about the size of your hand? Maybe a little bit smaller. Sometimes if it's enlarged, it could be a little bit bigger. But just think about the fact that that organ is responsible for making your blood circulate through your body. We know that blood pressure has two numbers, the top number and the bottom number. And the top number indicates the amount of pressure that's being pushed against your arteries, the walls of your arteries when the heart beats. The bottom number, the second one, indicates how much pressure your body is exerting against the artery wall while the heart is in the resting beat. So, you know, there's movement and a stop, and that's what those two numbers are. This chart shows that the normal range of blood pressure is the top number is less than 120, and the bottom number is less than 80. So when you hear that, though, keep in mind that this chart is not necessarily about being healthy, because they start with a normal number that's at 120. So less than really is what you want to be at when you get your blood pressure taken. When we look at the bottom of the chart, it says that if you take your blood pressure on your own and the number is 180 over 120, that's extremely high. You want to be going into the emergency room. You want to be calling your doctor, because at that point you are at risk of things like a heart attack, stroke, or something like that. So definitely want those numbers less. High blood pressure is called a silent killer, because if you don't have your numbers checked, you may not necessarily have any symptoms until it's too late to know that your blood pressure is high. Most of the time, blood pressure, hypertension has no obvious signs to indicate that something is wrong. Your blood pressure changes throughout the day based on whatever your activities are, and having a blood pressure that is consistently above normal. So if it's above that 120 and 180 consistently. So one time you take your blood pressure and that's that high, that's not an indication that there's something wrong. But if you consistently do it day over day or throughout the day, that will be something of concern, and you would know that you are at risk of having hypertension. The higher your blood pressure levels, the more risk you are for other health problems, such as heart disease, heart attack, and stroke. So, what are some of the conditions that increase the risk for having high blood pressure? As I just said, if your blood pressure is elevated, normally running more than the 120 over 180, that could be a sign that you could end up with chronic or longer lasting high blood pressure for in the future. Obesity, being obese, having too much excess body fat, and especially around your waist, that is a good indication that you are putting yourself at risk for high blood pressure, because that means that your heart has to work extra hard in order to pump your blood through your body, which the blood is what is supplying your body with the oxygen that it needs. About 6 out of 10 people are diabetic. So we hear a lot about that. Just want to say this, diabetes does not mean that you eat too much sugar, which I think in our community is one of the things that's a myth. People think, I eat too much sugar. I can't have fruit. I can't have, I don't want to say a donut because I don't want you to eat a donut. So I'm going to stick with fruit. They think I can't have fruit because it has sugar, but it is not the sugar that actually is the sugar that's being spoken of when you talk about diabetes, but not to digress. So just want to know that it's the processed refined sugars that are a problem to call in with diabetes. And so diabetes causes sugar to build up in the blood and increase your risk of heart disease as well. A part of that too, I want to share is because that sugar is in your bloodstream, plaque, cholesterol, things like that builds up in the heart. And it's because the blood is traveling through your heart. So that's where the problem becomes, because it's in the blood, it's sticky, and then it sticks to the lining of your arteries. So what behaviors increase high blood pressure? Unhealthy diet. A diet that is too high in salt puts you at risk for high blood pressure. Eating a lot of table salt increases the blood pressure, and most of the salt that we consume comes from eating processed foods and eating out in restaurants. Salt is a preservative, and that's the reason why it's in a lot of foods and restaurants and things of that nature. Getting a lack of physical activity. Getting regular physical activity helps the heart and the blood vessels to stay strong and healthy, which can reduce your blood pressure. Simple things like taking a walk is a good place to begin. The use of tobacco. It increases the risk of high blood pressure. Smoking can damage your heart and your blood vessels. Nicotine raises your blood pressure, and you're breathing in carbon monoxide, which is produced when you smoke. This reduces the amount of oxygen your blood can carry. Alcohol. So while most people know that drinking too much alcohol can lead to injuries, death in car crashes, and by the way, the person who's usually drunk and driving is the one that survives, and whoever they hit or whoever's in the car is the person that ends up dying. So unfortunate. Many people do not know that drinking too much alcohol also increases the chances of high blood pressure, cancer, suicide, unintended pregnancies, sexually transmitted infections, violence, and drug use. That's because people aren't in a normal frame of mind or in a good state of mind. I hate it when I hear people say when somebody was drunk, the true person came out, because I believe it's just the opposite, that the alcohol influences them to be somebody who they aren't, and that's the reason why they take the actions that they do. So binge drinking is defined as having 4 or more drinks within a 2-hour period for women and 5 more drinks for men within 2 hours. Moderate drinking is up to 1 drink a day for women and 2 for men. And then heavy drinking is more than 3 drinks a day for women and 4 for men. Keep in mind that alcohol also has sugar in it. So that's one thing that's not good for you. It impairs your thinking. And again, just causes all of those other things that I already talked about, car crashes and things of that nature. And I want to step back a second real quick. I apologize. The acronym for us today was BAGS. And so it was blood pressure, alcohol, gout, and stress. And so my question was supposed to be at the beginning, what was in your bag? So just kind of think about that as we do go through the rest of it. What's in your bag? And then other factors that can also increase your blood pressure. Medications that you could currently be taking could also make your blood pressure high. So you always want to discuss with your doctor and or your pharmacist the side effects of any prescribed medication or anything that you take over the counter. And then stress also could be a factor, and we'll talk about that later. Genetics. Do not be fooled by my mom had it, my dad had it, so I have to have it as well. Even though members of our family pass on traits to us from one generation to the next, and that process is called heredity, Genes play a small role in high blood pressure, heart disease, and other related conditions. The risk of high blood pressure can increase even more, though, when combined with heredity, when an unhealthy lifestyle choices are made, such as smoking, eating unhealthily, and lack of physical activity. You do not have to have high blood pressure because your mother or father did or do. I'm a living witness. But as I said, my mother has always had it. I do not have high blood pressure. So what can we do to prevent and reverse? And I say prevent because there are steps that you can have to never have high blood pressure to begin with, which should be all of our goals. Your lifestyle increases the chances. And so healthy eating, choose healthy meals and snack options. Be sure to eat plenty of fruits and vegetables, foods that are high in fiber, and eliminate saturated fat. Avoid salt, oil, and sugar, the processed refined kind of sugar, and increasing your water intake to a minimum of half your body weight daily. So starting your day with a glass of water, 25 ounces, put that next to your nightstand or have it ready on your kitchen table. So when you get up in the morning, that's the first thing you do. Keep yourself at a healthy weight. Being overweight, obese also increases the risk of your having high blood pressure. And to determine whether or not you're within a healthy range, you can Google and look up a BMI calculator, and it'll ask you for your height, your age, your weight, and you can find out what your healthy range is. So you can use Google for that. Be physically active. So some people will say, well, you know, I'm overweight and I can't do it. Start out small. One thing that I always tell people is if you go to the grocery store, park 5 cars out, walk in, and then walk in the grocery store. Hit every aisle. Don't buy anything out of every aisle, but hit every aisle just to go up and down the aisle, push the cart, and then the next time you go, park 10 spaces out, and then walk in. And that's a way to start. Adults should have at least 2.5 hours of moderate to intense exercise activity a week. And then for children, they should have at least an hour. So we're talking about possibly 30 minutes a day. If you say, well, Alicia, I can't get 30 minutes in all at once, break it up and do about 15 minutes at a time. That'll work. Do not smoke. Smoking raises your blood pressure, puts you at a risk for heart attacks and strokes. And then it also, we know, causes people to have lung cancer, asthma, and then chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. Getting enough sleep. This is something that is very key. The body repairs itself when we're sleeping. Therefore, getting enough sleep is very important to our overall health. So again, other factors, medications can cause your blood pressure to be high. Stress, some characteristics that you cannot control, such as your age, your race, and your ethnicity, can also affect your blood pressure. Age, because blood pressure tends to raise as we get older, and that's why it's important for us to make sure that we take those necessary steps to keep the blood pressure low. It can develop over a lifetime, but again, it can be controlled and lowered by the steps that we talked about so far. Your sex. Women are more likely than men to develop high blood pressure at some point during their lives. And then race or ethnicity. Black people develop high blood pressure more than white people, Hispanics, Asians, Pacific Islanders, American Indians, or Alaskan natives do. And that's compared to white people. Black people also develop high blood pressure earlier in life. And we know that it's due to some of the environmental stressors that we have. It's due to the oppression that we're dealing with. It's due to just everything that's going on in society. In some way, it seems like it always targets us more. So we just know that we are subject to have high blood pressure earlier in life. Signs of heart disease really quick. Erectile dysfunction, jaw pain, leg discomfort, sleep apnea, yellow bumps on your skin. A heart attack, of course, is chest pain, discomfort, upper lower back pain in your neck, heartburn or nausea. Arrhythmia is a fluttering of your heart, palpitations. and then shortness of breath, fatigue, swelling of the feet, ankles, or abdomen. And so this information was referenced from Forks Over Knives, the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, and then the American Heart Association. At this time, I will hand it over to Janelle, and she is going to talk to you about gout.
All right, can you guys hear me? Yes. Okay, wonderful. Alicia, thank you very much. And before I go on and talk, one of the things that I want to say is, Harry, you said like the purpose of you guys doing these things is to extend the life expectancy. And so one of the things that I want to point out that Alicia mentioned is genetics. And so the way it was explained to me and the way I understand it, the analogy is if your genome in your body is like a huge cookbook that has all these different recipes, all these just every, from every Asian food, African food, I mean, from all of it, from A to Z, all these different recipes. The things that you do on a daily basis, your lifestyle, those are the things that tell your body what to cook, so to speak. So you may be in your DNA, you may have a predisposition for high blood pressure or cancers or a heart attack or, mental illness, but it's your everyday lifestyle, your practices, how often you meditate, how often you eat green vegetables, how often you go for walks. Those are the things that tell the page to do a dog ear, turn down and flip and say, okay, this is what we're going to cook today. So it is a lot of what we talk about, it's in your control. And we have had the opportunity to work in spaces with people that are not only living in their 80s, 90s, but are thriving during that time. You don't want to live a long time and then be broke down and sick. So I just wanted to add that. Did you want to say something else, Alicia?
Yeah, Janelle, thank you, because I also want to say this too. Heredity is always talked about in the instance of what we get bad from our family was handed down to us. The same things that are good within your family are handed down to you as well. So during the pandemic, I was telling people that I wasn't really concerned about coronavirus. And the reason being is that my father was born in 1908. He lived through it. My grandparents lived through it on both sides of my family. My grandparents, my dad's parents, they went on to have a whole bunch more kids. And so I know that goodness within them that let them live through the coronavirus then has been handed down to me as well. And so the good things, if longevity is in your family, if somebody your grandparent lived to be 80, 90, 100 years old, you have that within you as well, as long as you treat your cells in the right way to help you to be able to live that long. Again, it's our choices in our lifestyle. And that's why these diseases are called lifestyle diseases. It's what you're choosing to do in your life that causes you to have them. So.
Yes, thank you. All right. So if you can put up my slide. So I'm going to talk to you guys about gout. And Alicia, if it's okay with you, if anybody, has a question, they want to type it in the chat while I'm going, or if you have anybody has any questions for Alicia right now. I'm sorry, I don't know what you guys discussed at the beginning, but feel free to ask questions. This is I'm casual, I'm at work, I'm stepping away, and I want you guys to get this information. So I'm gonna talk to you about, what's up?
I'm sorry. I have one question for Alicia. My dad suffered with COPD for many years. And I just want to know, is it reversible?
So when it comes to the lungs, they will repair over 10 years if you stop whatever it was that you were doing. So for instance, if you're smoking, they can repair, but then also sometimes things can get to a point of where there is no reversal. So it would depend on what his diagnosis was at the time that he was diagnosed, how severe things were. That's always the thing. That's why prevention is always the key. It's easier to prevent than it is to reverse.
Okay. Second part to that question. when you say smoke, you say smoke, period. Cigarettes, marijuana, you just talking about smoking.
I'm just talking about smoking. So one of the things that I think has been unfortunate with the whole boom of using marijuana now as for medicinal purposes is that people are smoking, because I feel that that still does damage to the lungs. I'm not a proponent of, but I would say that if someone was using marijuana for medicinal purposes, my recommendation would be to use edibles. But again, I'm not a doctor, but just knowing that smoking and inhaling that into your lungs is damage, I kind of feel like you know, in a crosshair when you smoke.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Alicia. Hmm?
I just said you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. And also, you know, in terms of, well, I won't go there. I'll leave that alone. So gout, let's talk about gout. All right. So if we can move on to the next slide. So I'm going to go through, talk about a little bit of the history, signs and symptoms, causes, the pathophysiology of gout, as well as diagnosis, prevention. Like I said, feel free to answer any or ask me any questions along the way. Let me adjust this right here. All right. So gout is traditionally thought of as a rich man's disease, like back in the 16th century. And reason being is because the only people that could afford to eat these foods that were rich in what we'll learn are purines were the people that could afford to buy meats and drink the wines. And so only people that could afford those things actually got gout. Most of the other people, you know, they had to eat out of the ground because they couldn't afford to go to the butcher, or they couldn't afford the expensive wines. Gout is a inflammatory arthritis where you get uric acid crystals in your joints. So it's an inflammatory process. You guys might have heard of or seen, you know, people talk about their swollen joints or their swollen big toe. So let's move on to the next slide. So this is just an image showing you gout in the big toe and how these uric acid, these crystals actually form in the big toe joint. And I have the big toe joint here because that's one of the most common places that it occurs. All right, so causes and risk factors for gout. So when you get a diagnosis of gout, it's going to be because the uric acid is elevated in your body. So there's a lab value that doctors will take a look at and see if it's high or if it's low, and they'll use that in combination with the symptoms that you present with. So people sometimes overproduce uric acid, and sometimes people don't get it out of their kidneys enough. But other causes of it are consumption of red meat, seafood, shellfish, alcohol, predominantly beers, also high fructose corn syrup, obesity, diabetes, and water pills. I'm not sure why I'm hearing a background noise. Can you guys?
Is it a little?
It's just the background music.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the
it's
music
background
playing in
music.
the background.
We got a little
It's been playing
background
earlier,
music.
too.
Oh, okay. You guys. Oh, that's okay. I'm like, why
Yeah.
am I hearing this? Okay. But so these are the causes and the risk factors. There are certain foods that you can eat, certain medications that you can take that increase the likelihood that you'll have gout. So what is elevated uric acid? Like, what does that mean? And essentially, it is a disorder of your metabolism. So a disorder of your metabolism, it causes inflammatory arthritis within the joints. You get deposits of uric acid crystals into the joints and underneath the skin. The reason why I want to point this out is because the metabolism is a process that involves consumption of foods in order to produce energy, which is completely different from digestion, because you can consume foods, you can digest them, they can go throughout your body, but you are not getting any energy, you're not getting the benefit of the foods. And so it's very important as you go about your day and you're eating, that you're eating and try to eat with the purpose of actually having metabolism and actually getting energy from your food. So uric acid is a disorder of your metabolism. We also know of diabetes. So diabetes is one of the most common disorders of the metabolism, but a lot of these conditions that we have is just a process or the process of metabolism, the process of consuming foods is not working right in our body. And that's why we get a lot of these lifestyle diseases like heart disease, like diabetes, like elevated uric acid or gout. All right. And then when you have a disorder of your metabolism, you may have something that some of you may have heard of called metabolic syndrome. And so metabolic syndrome involves your blood sugar might be high sometimes, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have a diagnosis of diabetes. But if you were to go in on a daily basis and just maybe do a finger stick or check your blood sugars, even though you don't have that diagnosis, you might have high blood sugar on occasion or another, high blood pressure. You don't have enough of the good cholesterol in your body. You have a lot of the high or the bad cholesterol. So you have high triglycerides. You might have excess fat around your waist. And so, like I said, this is a disorder of the metabolic syndrome. And the reason why this is important is because having these cluster of symptoms increases your risk for having elevated uric acid levels, increases your risk for having type 2 diabetes fivefold. Let's slow down a little bit. Let's see, was there anything else that I wanted to say about this? But yeah, when you have metabolic syndrome, you increase your risk for diabetes, you increase your risk for cardiovascular disease, even cancers like liver cancer, colorectal cancer, endometrial cancers in women. And so this is very important. So if you're not already familiar with metabolic syndrome, look it up, because a lot of times people might not get an actual diagnosis from the doctor based on their lab values, but their physical presentation and just, they might have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and then that obesity as well around the waist also contributes to you developing a ton of other more conditions that are considered, more fatal, like cancers, et cetera. All right. So let's move on to the next slide. So like Alicia said, I mentioned this because I want you guys to be aware of how important elevated uric acid is. So what this slide is a picture of some beers in Japan. So what the Japanese have been able to do is they've identified the negative effects that uric acid has on the body, not just in the form of causing gout. So we're familiar with elevated uric acid because it causes gout. Like within my profession, when we see somebody traditionally, when we see them with elevated uric acid, we automatically think of gout. However, the Japanese have been able to identify that elevated uric acid levels are also associated with with a lot more comorbidities, a lot more problems. So it's not just the painful big toe and painful big swollen toe that you might get from elevated uric acid, but there's also other conditions. And so what they've done is they've removed the purines. And so the purines, that's the precursor for getting uric acid. So if I didn't say, just really quickly, so the alcohol, the red meats, all those foods are high in something called purines. When our body breaks the purines down, then we produce the uric acid. So what the Japanese did with their beer is they removed the purines so you won't get elevated uric acid. Alicia mentioned effects of alcohol on the body. I just want to stress, I showed the beer, but I'm not promoting that you guys go out and buy a bunch of purine-free beer because alcohol can also contribute to high blood pressure, stroke, digestive problems, liver disease, like Alicia talked about, cancers. It can also contribute to neuropathy. A lot of people think of neuropathy and loss of or losing limbs. They think of that as being something strictly associated with having type 2 diabetes, but you can get neuropathy from having long-term use of alcohol. Long-term use of alcohol contributes to cardiovascular disease, and those two in combination can cause you to lose a limb. So you may never even get a diagnosis of having diabetes, but long-term use of alcohol can also contribute to those things as well. So I already mentioned purines are the breakdown products of the DNA and RNA that are in the red meat that we consume, the shellfish, even alcohol. The yeast produces a lot of purines in the beer. Processed meats are also a high, have a lot of purines in them to produce uric acid as well in our bodies. High fructose corn syrup. And I mention this because a lot of times, and this is what I was taught, when I talk to my patients about having gout, I'm like, cut out the red meat, cut out the alcohol. But I never learned until recently that you also need to cut out the high fructose corn syrup, cut out all of the sugar in our diets. And this is really hard for us now here in America because so many of our processed foods have high fructose corn syrup, have a lot of fructose in. And what happens is our liver can't break this down properly. We get fatty liver disease. So it's not alcohol that is contributing to it nowadays. It's the fructose that we're eating from the processed food. So we get fatty liver. We also get elevated uric acid levels, which can cause a negative effect in the body. So this is one of the causes and risk factors as well. So signs and symptoms of gout. So when you go to the doctor and you present with, for example, a red hot swollen big toe, you'll get your labs drawn and they'll say, okay, you have these clinical presentation of, what's going on with your foot, but you also have a elevated uric acid level over 7.0. And so you now have a diagnosis of gout. And so they may give you medications, et cetera. If it's over 8.0, then you're more likely to form crystals. And I've mentioned the big toe joint, but these crystals, I've seen them in the elbow. You can get crystals in the ears. You can get crystals in the fingers, the Achilles tendon, so in soft tissues. And these can contribute to deformity, stiff toe joints, pain. You can also get uric acid crystals formed in your kidney, as well as, usually kidney stones are from calcium buildup, but it can be from uric acid as well. And when I've seen my patients that have been in pain in their foot from having gout, they can't even allow the bed sheets to touch their toe because it is just it's just really, really painful. And in that situation, they're in a acute phase of gout. So they're having this acute phase. They get the medication, the pain goes away, but they still may have elevated uric acid levels. They still may have crystals in their joint, their big toe joints as well. Let's see. So this is just an X-ray showing you, this is on the top. You can see the person with the red, hot, swollen big toe joint. And then on X-ray, you're supposed to have between your bones, there's supposed to be space, but you can see the toe, the biggest toe, you guys at it, but this is the foot, the biggest toe is the big toe joint, and there's no space between the toe and the back part of the foot. And that's because crystals have formulated over time in that area that causes stiffness. It can cause pain. You can have, it looks like it's a bunion. It can just be big. And, so there's a lot of times people will leave it. Sometimes people have surgery to remove the crystals, but ultimately you have to do the thing to prevent them from continuously occurring, which is change your diet, your lifestyle modifications. Like I said, your doctor will diagnose you with with gout if your uric acid levels are over 7, and you're more likely to get crystals. I think this is a repeat slide, but I don't have anything in addition to say about that. But what's really interesting to me with regard to gout and elevated uric acid levels, and what I wanted to bring to you guys today is that I went to a talk and the talk was about uric acid levels above 5.0. And there have been recent studies, and we're studying this more now, but if your uric acid levels are like at a 6, then you're more likely to have diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, obesity. And so aside from the presentation of having a painful swollen toe or uric acid crystals in your elbow or your ear or different joints in your body, this lab value of an elevated uric acid over 6 is an indication that you're more likely to have obesity, diabetes, liver disease, heart disease. And then they further did the study and they said anybody who had a uric acid over 7 increases their likelihood of death within an 8-year period. So, you know, while we're out here concerned about getting gout or having a painful toe, people with elevated uric acid levels well below those that cause gout symptoms are increasing their risk of death, increasing their risk of getting sick. Like they even looked at people that had severe symptoms from COVID-19, and they found that people that had elevated uric acid levels, even though they may have never had a history of gout, but their uric acid level was like at a 7, they were more likely to suffer and have more severe conditions and be in the hospital be on COVID-19. And because of COVID-19, they were more likely to be on a ventilator, more likely to die. So just knowing about this new lab value, knowing about uric acid, hopefully you now have a better understanding. So it's not just about getting gout, it's about preserving your life and preventing you from having all of these other complications. And the next slide shows the uric acid, elevated uric acid also contributes to Alzheimer's disease, vascular dementia, and cognitive decline. So your risk of death from cardiovascular disease and stroke even increases by 35% if your uric acid is over 7. So I'm just like, this is so important to me because people come and, you know, they present with what's just going on with their foot. And this is why, you know, I love what I do, but it's a manifestation of a big problem in your body. Like you have a metabolic disturbance that's contributing to a whole host of other problems. It's showing up in your toe, but you have other problems in your body and things that you need to work on and lifestyle changes that you need to make. Let's see. Anything else? So one of the things that the study found is that uric acid triggers fat production. So all of the processes in our body have occurred out of necessity over time and have been survival mechanisms. So at one point, you know, in our evolution of man, when we didn't have access to grocery stores and food like we do, we needed our body to have an elevated uric acid level because it increased the fat production and it allowed us to go for longer periods of time without having food because we could get the energy, we could break down the fat, and we could go for long periods of time. We don't need that now anymore. And so having elevated uric acid levels is a negative effect. We can go to the grocery store, we have access to foods. And so this thing that was once a survival mechanism can have a negative effect on our bodies. So prevention of gout. So lifestyle modification, Lifestyle modification, eliminating purine-rich foods like we talked about, meat, red meats, shellfish, specifically organ meats, high fructose corn syrup, processed foods, and processed meats. I can't stress enough how processed meats are just not good for you. The Department of Health and Human Services has listed processed meats, particularly as a type 1 and type 2 carcinogen. So all the, you know, the deli meats and all the processed frozen meats, so all those contribute to cancer. Other things that you can do to prevent gout: increasing your fiber intake, increase vitamin C, cruciferous vegetables like your broccoli. There's medications that your doctor will prescribe. There's herbal substitutes, natural foods, and I've heard cherry juice. So there's a lot of different things that you can consume orally to prevent gout. I even heard that if you have gout, like lemon juice, consuming lemon juice and having that with your water on a regular basis will also help to lower your uric acid levels. Like I said, your doctor, when you go in, if you have an acute presentation, will most likely give you some medication, one of these medications. It may put you on the medication for an extended period of time while they're trying to get your uric acid levels lower and trying to get your symptoms to subside. And so once you get to that place, you really want to work on your lifestyle modifications and doing things to prevent the gout from occurring. Because now we all know that it's not just the gout that's causing it's not just the big toe joint. We got a lot of other stuff going on that we need to get in check. Foods and supplements, vitamin C, broccoli. Some studies even say having coffee. So it's not the caffeine in the coffee, but just having the coffee because it's a diuretic will help to eliminate uric acid levels. Although consuming too much coffee is not a positive thing that can cause anxiety, sleep disturbances as well. So you want to try to limit that. Nuts and seeds, and then quercetin and luteolin. Those are found in whole foods, fruits, vegetables. We can't stress enough how important it is to eat the different fruits and vegetables. All the colors of the different fruits and vegetables have a different vitamin in them that help our body to fight cancers, to fight and to detox and to eliminate all the things, the toxins in our body. And then DHA, and then algae. So some people sea moss considered an algae, but I do know that it is. Yeah, so different algae, those are different things that you can consume as well. And then I've been learning about gout and seeing it for years, but one of the most recent works that was cited was by David Perlmutter, which is, he talks about the hidden truth of uric acid. So he has a book if you want to learn more about it. But that's it. I think this other slide was just more of, how elevated uric acid levels is associated with brain shrinkage, cognitive decline. I already talked about elevated blood glucose. So now when you think of gout and, you think about your big toe joint, know that it's a whole host of other things that are going on that you are possibly going to be exposing yourself to.
Awesome. Thank you, Janelle. You did have one question in the chat that I want to go ahead and tell you what it says so you can answer it now. And it was, can gout lead to amputation?
The instance where gout could lead to amputation is if you leave the uric acid unchecked and you continue to have elevated crystals. So these are actually crystal formations in the joint, and it gets to the point where it's just so much that your skin just can't contain it, and so you may get a wound. But having gout itself usually doesn't. You would have to have that in combination with like poor blood flow or severe infection that you didn't get under control. So gout, I would say, to answer your question, no, unless it's just, combined with poor blood flow, infection, and just not being treated over like years and years and years. Okay, yes.
Yeah, so the next question was, how long would it take? And you kind of answered that when you just said years and years and years.
Yeah, it takes some time.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So I hope that so far you all see that there is a theme. I want to say this too. I'm a little upset that you all set the rule at the beginning that we couldn't curse, because I was kind of hoping that I could be free in the barbershop, but don't roll with the rules since you put it down like that. But I hope you see that the theme is that we're saying that there are some fundamental things that you need to be healthy, which is making sure that you're eating properly, that you're drinking water, that you're getting exercise. And so for everything we talked about, that has been the foundation. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about stress. Something that we all experience. So you may or may not have already heard, but stress is the other silent killer. And the reason is that stress has an impact on the body that is always not visible to us. So acute stress is the normal psychological and physical reaction to the demands of life. A small amount of stress can be good, motivating you to perform and do well. So if you're in school and you have that paper to do, if you're at work and you have a grant to write, or you have a proposal, doing this presentation, so getting the PowerPoint together, those are the kinds of things that's good stress. Our brains are hardwired with like an alarm system for our protection. When our brain detects that there is a threat, it signals our body with a burst of hormones, cortisol and adrenaline to increase. And that causes our heart rate to increase. It could elevate our blood pressure a little bit. And I'm sure that most of you have heard of the term fight or flight in response to the fuel that our body gets when it perceives a threat, or again, just that amount of pressure from having to complete a task that needs to be done. So once the threat is gone, your body is meant to return to its normal and relaxed state. So a good example of where you're experiencing some stress and it's just abnormal, say for instance, you're laying in the bed and all of a sudden you just start thinking about, what if I'm in a car crash, and what if I lost a leg, and what would my family do? How would they be taken care of? That's creating stress in the body, but you're really in no danger. You're just thinking about something in your head. So you created the scenario which will cause you to have that burst of either the cortisol and or the adrenaline. So unfortunately, if the complications in your mind don't stop, or you continue to be under stress for an extended period of time, then that means your alarm system hasn't shut down, and that would be considered chronic stress. And that would be if it lasted for 3 months or longer. Cortisol is one of the hormones that will keep you from losing weight, as well as or cause you to gain weight, and it prevents you from sleeping as well. It's a disruptor of your sleep pattern. So a couple facts: even before the pandemic, Americans were among the most stressed out people in the world. A 2022 survey showed that about 1 in 5 US adults, including the millennials and younger adults, said that their mental health was worse than it had been in previous years. And we know the climate of things that are going on, what's political that's going on, the violence that's taking place in all communities, I will say now. So those are things that will have you stressed out. I personally don't watch the news. I heard a speaker say a long time ago that people watch the news and they don't realize you internalize what you see. And as a result, it creates the stress. And I've heard so many people now saying that they don't want to go to church. They're afraid to go to the grocery store. They're having their groceries delivered. They're afraid to send their children to school. And so that's just from what's going on outside. Don't mention if you have anything going on in your family, a loved one that's sick, a loss of a job, those kinds of things that'll add added pressure. People of color may face a greater risk of high blood pressure and heart disease, and poor outcomes for heart conditions due to stress, depression, anxiety, which is linked to social and economic inequality, discrimination, and other social factors. So when we look at our neighborhoods, they don't have grocery stores that have adequate food that's being provided to us. And one thing that I mentioned earlier was getting a coach, leaning into the fact that in the Black community and what I learned in the Hispanic community as well, since I moved here to Arizona, we don't believe in counseling, and that's a big thing. So we internalize a lot of stuff, and counseling is key. We should get counseling to help. So here are some of the symptoms of stress and the effects on the body: headaches, muscle tension, chest pain, fatigue, change in your sex drive, stomach upset, sleep problems, your mood changes, you have anxiety, restlessness, lack of motivation, feeling overwhelmed, irritability, or anger, and then sadness or depression. And then your behavior changes. You become, you start overeating, you start under eating, you have angry outbursts, misuse of drugs and alcohol, tobacco use, and then social withdrawal and exercising less often than you did before. So I always say that two things: silence speaks very loud. So if you've been talking to someone and all of a sudden they're not talking, that's the withdrawal. And we know that Earth, Wind, and Fire say talking to yourself is fine, but when you start answering, that's a different thing. And so you want to be careful not to withdraw, and you want to check on people to see how they are. And then your lack of desire to do things that you like doing before, so exercising less. And then, of course, sleep problems. So you're unable to go to sleep. So if you notice that in a person too, they're staying up all night, they're sleeping all day, then that could be a sign of that they're dealing with stress. So if you have stress and you recognize it, you know that that's what you're dealing with, you want to take the steps to manage your stress. But ultimately, one of our goals should be to eliminate the stress. So things to help you manage it and eliminate. You want to create an exit strategy. You want to sit down and develop a step-by-step process to remove whatever it is that's causing you stress. You want to implement it. You want to follow through on it. And then you want to create your plan for what you're going to do once the stress is eliminated. So visualize, what is my life going to look like? What am I going to be able to do? What changes will take place? Eat. How can you do this as well? Eating a healthy diet that's full of fruits and vegetables, eliminating salt, table salt, oil, and sugar, getting plenty of sleep and regular physical activity, participating in relaxation techniques such as deep breathing, meditation, yoga, Tai Chi. You want to get massages. Keeping your sense of humor, making sure that you see what's good in life and you're able to laugh sometimes. Spending time with your family and friends. Community is key to us. We are meant to be connected to other people. So it's very important that we keep those connections strong. Again, don't become isolated. Staying in contact, checking on people, being involved, setting aside some time for hobbies such as reading books or listening to music. Or I'll say, don't be like me. I have like 5 different hobbies that I started and I'll stop, but I go back to them every once in a while and I'll pick something up and do it. So that's something key to doing something that you enjoy. And then avoiding, again, the tobacco, caffeine, alcohol, and then the use of illegal substances. When to seek help. If you're not sure if stress is the cause of how you've been feeling or what you've been going through, and your symptoms continue after a long period of time, seek help from your health provider and check in on to see if there could be other potential causes of how you're feeling and what's going on. A therapist or a counselor is key. Sometimes maybe, we have that friend who we can always talk to. We have that family member, but maybe you feel as if though he or she'll judge you a little bit. Speak to somebody who doesn't know you, has no reason to judge you, which your loved one shouldn't either, but we know how that goes. So find someone to talk to that can help you to identify your source of stress and help you to get rid of it. Also, if you're feeling things like chest pains, a shortness of breath, you having pain in your jaw or radiating pain in your arm, sweating, nausea, dizziness, those are warning signs that you could possibly be having a heart attack, and they're just not simply stress that you're dealing with. So my contact information, I am on Facebook. My page is Have a Happy Heart with a Whole Food Plant-Based Way of Eating. I just created my page. So if you visit, you'll see there's nothing there but the flyer for this because it was my first post. So I am grateful to have this opportunity to speak to you guys. I have one more picture that I sent to Ben and I asked him to show you guys. So as we've been talking, there's a lot of information that's out there. I am a proponent of a whole food plant-based diet. I believe that it is the best way that we can prevent and correct anything that we have. These are a couple of documentaries that are on Netflix, I believe, still currently. I have not watched them all, but I will tell you that What the Health and Game Changers changed my life in terms of how I saw and perceived and understood. Game Changers is all about athletes, so maybe that'll hook you in. Forks Over Knives is also a good one. I have not seen Eating You Alive or Earthlings or The Cow Conspiracy, but I will say this, that the consumption of meat is having an impact on us physically and our environment. Those documentaries talk about the effect on the environment. And so there are a number of reasons that we should consider making the changes for our lives so we can be healthier, happier human beings. Again, making changes for ourselves. So you start out with your why for you, and then you further think about who else you want the changes that you make in your life to impact. A part of my why is that my mother is 95 years old. She's lived to see 3 great-grandchildren. I want to live to see great-grandchildren, hopefully before I get to be 100, but it may be that way at this point, but I want to live to see them. And so then I want to be able to sow into their lives and also to be able to sow into the lives of other people. So I thank you for this opportunity. And again, if you have questions, Janelle and I both are excited to answer those for you.
All right. Thanks so much.
I have a question. Is it okay?
Yes, go for it.
So I want to ask about sleep. My issue isn't going to sleep. My issue is I dream about everything that ever existed. and it is not relaxing sleep. And I just wanted to see what you had about that. Now, the only time I actually do is when I take naps. Naps are the only time I don't dream. Is that, have you run across? I'm sure you run across everything, but let me just ask about that, because sleep for me is an adventure because of all the dreams that I have.
So I haven't run across everything, but I will say that there are a number of things that you can do to make your sleeping more conducive. So the temperature of your room, you want to make sure that it's comfortable. You want to make sure that it's as dark as possible. So covering up, if you have alarm clocks, anything that's going to create light in the room, you want to make sure that that's not there to make it dark. You want to make sure that you're not eating too close to your time you go to bed, because actually when you go to sleep, your digestive system does not stop. It continues to work. And so you want to make sure that, you're allowing yourself enough time to have digested your food before you go to sleep. And then knowing that you're going to dream, don't fight it. So don't be resistant to it. Just let it happen. Because I don't know about dreams and reading them or anything like that, but they do serve a purpose. And so just making sure that you go lay down and say, okay, I know I'm gonna dream tonight, and just relax into it. And then maybe even when you get up in the morning, kind of start journaling it out and seeing what took place in your dreams. And, that may start giving you some relief.
Well, that would be a whole book. So I don't know about the journaling part, but that's all helpful.
Well,
And I was
gonna say that might be a script. So what that might turn into,
Yeah, Dr. Marshall, you might need another book. But I was just going to say another thing to add to that is a lot of times the food, like if you're taking a vitamin, or if you're eating a food with the dyes in it. So any dyes, like I used to love red velvet cake with the red dye in it, or even like the vitamins that we take, they have dyes in them. Those cause neurotoxins in the brain and can contribute to a lot of the sleep disturbances as well, and cause us to be excitable, and increase brain activity. And so if you're giving children vitamins as well, just be mindful of those dyes that are in vitamins, and all the sugar as well that's in vitamins and the different foods that we eat. And a lot of food, processed food, has dyes in it, even though we may not think it has. It does.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So I got a question. I think so regarding sleep. I try to normalize it in my head. I wake up naturally around 3:30, 4 o'clock. So I always blame it on I grew up with my grandparents. So I went to bed early and grew up and woke up early. So am I getting adequate amount of sleep? I'm comfortable with 5 hours, but I'm finding myself now that I'm a little older, I have times in the day where I need a nap like a toddler. You know what I mean? I need to get 15, 20 minutes of sleep so I can last for the rest of the day. So is that normal, or is that something I just fixated for myself? And should I try something to have healthier sleeping habits? I tried the melatonin, whatever it's called, to help you sleep. And maybe out of my anxiety, I thought it didn't work. I went from doing 2 little gummies to 3, but it really didn't work for me. So I stopped, but is any kind of practice I should do differently?
So actually, you said something that's really key. There is something to the old tale of early to bed and early to rise, because we are supposed to be like in flow with the circadian circle, which is the rising and the setting of the sun. So I don't have, I can't figure out where I have it. I would send a picture, but what happens is our bodies, the hormones in our body start to produce at a certain time for us to get sleepy. So when you feel yourself getting sleepy, it's because your body is producing the hormone for you to go to sleep. And then so we should be going down pretty much when the sun is going down. So within an hour to 2 hours. And then that makes sure that we hit that REM sleep, which is the really deep sleep where all of those dreams are coming up. And then other things are happening with the body. So if you're naturally waking up, just make sure that you're getting to sleep when you're getting sleepy, as opposed to pushing through it, and you'll get a sufficient amount of rest and sleep. The body will adapt. The body will adapt. So you said you're comfortable with 5 hours, your body will adapt to the situation. That's the wonderful thing about our bodies. It will adapt. But if you give it more rest, you would feel better.
Okay, thank you.
And I was just going to add to that too, Craig. So you mentioned wanting to take a nap in the middle of the day. And so I would say pay attention to what you were eating or drinking around that time, because if you happen to be drinking even like the energy drinks that have a lot of sugar in them, or something that has a lot of sugar in it, you are going to get, like kids, they get hyper. You get hyper, you shooting up, and then you crash. And that may be why you are doing that. So if that's the case, instead of having that energy drink or soda or even coffee with, all that sugar in it, because you putting the sugar in it, unless you're just drinking it black, instead of having that, get yourself a green drink, some sea moss, or something that's not going to give you a sugar spike or give you a boost of energy and then send you crashing down. Because, just that sugar consumption that crash is what puts people in a lot of depressive states and in a period of a place of chronic depression over a period of time. So like I gave up sugar. I gave up processed and refined sugar from my diet, because as part of our class, we had to give it up for like a week. When I gave it up, I didn't even know I was addicted. My energy level shot up. I stopped having mornings where I would get up and just, man, you have mornings and you're like, I don't feel good, or, I'm just not feeling it. When I gave up processed and refined sugar, I didn't have those mornings. So there's something definitely to eliminating sugar from your diet. And so if yours, Greg, is associated with something that you're eating during the day, pay attention to that and maybe switch that up.
Yeah.
Where can I get some sea moss?
Where are you?
I'm in California.
In the Bay Area?
Yeah.
Okay, Craig,
I mean, I don't
it's
know. I don't
plenty of
know. I
places.
mean, I'm
Yeah.
down here. I mean, I don't know. I'm asking really.
So
Yeah.
I can tell you, we got a spot right down the street from the shop, Showtime. He got all the herbs and all the stuff that you need, that we're talking about, the blood rack, sea moss, turmeric. He has all the detoxes, the healthy detoxes to clean your liver and all that. So 1608 Ocean, San Francisco.
I'll call you.
Okay.
So with that being brought up, there are a couple of things that I want to shout out to. If you're going to detox, don't retox. The purpose of the detox is to eliminate everything that you know is being harmful to your body. So we were talking about this morning. Don't keep looking back that, oh, I can't wait until I finish this so I can go back to whatever it was that I was doing before I started. The purpose of your detox should be to jumpstart yourself so you can move forward in your healthy lifestyle, not indulge in what you were doing before and going back. Your taste buds will change. A couple other things, read the labels on everything you consume. Having a diet that is as unprocessed as possible is what's best for you. Once you start reading labels, you'll see that they put sugar in everything. Your condiments, it'll be in places that you don't expect to find it. Dairy products, dairy is addictive as well. It gives you a dopamine hit. I bought some microwave popcorn one time and it was cracked pepper and salt. I read the label, it had milk in it. Why does popcorn have milk in it? And so a thing that Janelle mentioned too are the dyes. They're excitotoxins. Red 40 is a carcinogen. And so a lot of things that are banned in other countries, we still allow them in the United States. And then there are things that, we feed our kids, the cereals, don't shoot me, Doritos, Flaming Hot Cheetos, they should be banned. They really will catch fire if you light a match to them because they burn.
Even the peppermint candy, the red, that's even a carcinogen.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The church candy.
And grandma had a bowl of them.
Yeah. So it's about becoming educated. And so, that's why I was excited to be here because it's about the education. We didn't know because certainly if our grandparents knew, they wouldn't have fed our parents, and then our parents would not have fed us if they knew when they understood.
Isn't pretty much all that stuff that they use, the additive flavors and coloring and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. So I have a video where the interviewer was talking to a guy from a company that created artificial flavors. And he was all excited to show the process. They go to the orange grove and they pick the oranges at the height of the season. They take them back to the lab and they analyze them. And then they enhance the flavor so that when they put it in the orange soda or whatever it is they put it in, that it amplifies the excitement in your brain. So then what do you do more of? You consume more of it and you buy more of it. So they're making money. And then in the meantime, the sugar is making you dehydrated. It's causing neuropathy. It's causing brain fog. And so it's killing you while you're also excited about having your soda. Drinking water, spring water is the best thing for us.
Back to when you were talking about diabetes. So about a year back, I was diagnosed pre-diabetic. So my doctor gave me a list of things that I couldn't have. So I remember listening to Gangsta Holistic, who we had on here a few weeks back, and I asked him about, they actually gave me a list of fruit that I shouldn't eat: grapes, watermelon, apples, and all these things I know, have healthy sugars in them. And I want to know if if that's a misconception of the term of not having anything sweet, because I do know there's a difference between natural sugar and the processed sugar that Janelle's talking about. So, and I actually didn't feel like I should have to cut out watermelon versus a Danish. You know what I'm saying? So can you kind of like give me a little info on, is that really correct? Or is that more of a myth for the fear of fructose?
So yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Janelle.
No, I was just going to say, when you think about eating whole foods, you have to really remember that there's also fiber in it. So when you consume, so people with diabetes are often taught they can't have fruits and different, and potatoes. So anything that's going to be darker in color is most likely going to be better for you. So instead of having a white potato, like have a sweet potato and eat the skin. So when you consume fruits, you have to think, how much fiber does it have in it? Because if you are consuming this carbohydrates, let's say the fruit has 10 grams of carbs and 5 grams of fiber, then that fiber is going to decrease the amount of carbs, which then prevents your blood sugar from raising so quickly. So that's what you want to be mindful of. Like the example between white rice and brown rice. Brown rice has something on the outside of it called an endosperm that when you digest it, your body has to break it down longer. It has the fiber in it. Your blood sugar doesn't shoot up as quickly. There's also a great book that I'm in the process of reading that I would recommend. It's called Mastering Diabetes. And it has, what it lists in it is a bunch of different foods. So there's red light, yellow light, and green light foods. And it'll kind of list foods that may increase your blood sugar a lot quicker. So while someone with pre-diabetes should not be eating any processed, any refined sugars, no Danishes, none of that, the consumption of fruits and vegetables are allowed. And there are some that will raise your blood sugar a little bit faster, but nowhere near, because they do contain the fiber, nowhere near that the candies and the pies and the cakes would. So eliminating those whole foods from your diet is not always the best thing to do. And there's I'll try to send, send you guys the link to the foods that are listed as red, yellow, and green light foods is how they label it. But the book is called Mastering Diabetes. It's a really good book. And they have a lot of podcasts as well.
Yeah, thank you. I'll make sure that information gets disseminated to our participants. And I want to follow up with your question and your response, Dr. Green, because, I teach the plant-based cooking class for the Good Life program. And in response to what you said, Craig, my thoughts around it, and I believe like when they're saying like to eliminate, like you shouldn't have this fruit and that fruit, like if you were to eliminate all of the starches and the sugars and you just went on a fruit diet, like you would be okay. Your blood sugar would actually go down. Those fruits, when you're eating whole foods and you're eating fruits and vegetables, it's like you literally cannot lose. It's like you are winning. So it's when you're eating those things and still in combination with hamburgers with the bread and the meat and processed foods, then you're at risk for those when you're eating fruit. Yeah, it has sugars in them, so it's going to elevate your A1C levels. But if you were to eliminate all of the processed food, you could literally, like, the fruits are cleansers and the vegetables are rebuilding. So you have to look at it like that. You are, if you eliminate all of those other things, sodas and starches and things and sugars and things of that nature, and just put fruit and vegetables in your diet, then you're going to be fine. You're going to
You
heal
gonna
yourself.
win.
Essentially, all of fruits and vegetables and herbs and spices all have healing components in them. Every single last one of them. Nature has done a wonderful job at giving us things that literally heal different ailments and give us nutrients and vitamins to help sustain us. And so it's just about learning, relearning how to eat and how to shop. And when you go into the grocery store, and actually just being open to experimenting with fruits and vegetables that we weren't exposed to growing up. Diabetes does not run in your family. It's not a genetic disposition. It's the recipes and the bad habits that run in our family that are causing the disease. So that's something to be mindful of. It's that we're passing down generationally these recipes. You know, we celebrate as a community. We celebrate and spend a lot of time celebrating around food. And when you think about the one holiday, Thanksgiving, that we celebrate, if you do celebrate that holiday, that's like the Olympics of everything bad. It's like all the bad stuff on one table, and we're super excited to eat it, but we just have to change the way that we think about what we're putting into our bodies. And you have to eat very purposefully. You have to eat knowing that you're choosing things that are designed to heal your body. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah,
Preach.
the key to what she was saying is it's a matter of, are you eating what nature made, or are you eating what man made? And so that when it comes to the sugar, nature made the sugar that's in the fruit. The thing of it is that, or don't make a pound of grapes your meal.
Right.
You know, but you know, you again,
You don't
you
want
can't
to do
have.
that.
There was also, we were educated that there is a classification for water that comes from fruit that is more important than actual water itself. Is that fact?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And I had never heard before, so I want to cross check that one.
I mean, obviously water is good for, you know, we need water, but if you go on, like if you did a juice cleanse, a lot of the water, you wouldn't have to drink as much water if you were to do a juice cleanse or just, you know, juice fruits and vegetables. So I have read that. I don't know. I'll let Alicia, you can answer that because you are, but from my understanding of the research that I've done, I've heard that also, but I don't know, that may or may not be true.
This is really helpful because I've really for a long time been wanting to eat different. A lot of the food I used to eat, I can't stomach it. I bite on it for a minute and turn my stomach, throw it to the side. I really have stopped eating that fast food, but that's helpful. The fruit and but basically, what actual fish do you recommend?
None.
Oh, okay.
My personal belief is, and from what I have seen and in my own experience, is that it's not needed. So there are a couple of things that I'll suggest that you do. Get an allergy test to find out what you're allergic to. Get your blood work done so you can also find out if you're deficient in anything. So
I just got that done. I'm pretty good. It's just my like everybody else, borderline.
Okay,
Borderline
but
diabetic,
the reason I mention that is because it's important to know, because people take vitamins and things like that and they don't need them. You should be able to get everything you need from the food that we eat, the fruits and vegetables, except for vitamin B. And because that one, I always say it's the dirt thing, you know, it comes from the dirt. It's not, you know, it's not really a vitamin, just like vitamin D is not really a vitamin. But because we get the vitamin D from being in the sun, it converts the cholesterol in our bloodstream when it hits our skin. So those are key. I said say no to fish because right now the water is so contaminated and so dirty. The fish has a lot of mercury. Crabs and shrimp, they will make your cholesterol high. And
well, not so much as shrimp and crab. I got that part, but like just the fish aspect of it. And I take
Yeah, so as of late, there have been things that have been showing that even nature is confused, that salmon or male and female, they are creating genetically modified and growing salmon and making meats, and they don't have to label them. So you don't know if what you're getting is the real fish or if it's not the real fish. A lot of the stuff comes out of China, and so you don't know if it's been inspected properly. So just for the sake of the fact that you can get your omega-3s other ways, which is a lot of times why they say you want to eat that for the fat. I just don't believe that it's necessary or needed.
Okay.
The information and the classification for that water, I had to look it up. It's H3O2,
Mhm.
and it's said
The
to
water
be
that you get from fruit.
more
Yeah.
important than
Mhm.
actual water. So, just for everybody's.
Thank you.
And I want to add really quickly, as we run out of time. So for those of you all who are interested and you want to learn more recipes, like healthier recipes to cook,
Yeah,
like I said, in this program, this is a very robust program that has been developed with The Good Life. And I actually teach a plant-based class every Thursday. And if you guys desire, if we can get enough people, I could actually arrange to have one for the men if you don't feel comfortable coming into the class that I have already, which is primarily women. And we've produced this class, for you all, so you all can have a space where you feel comfortable. But you're more than welcome to join that class. We have a lot of really amazing recipes, and there's so many things. There's so many vegetables that you could learn to cook with that actually that kind of give you that feeling and that texture of meat if you're looking to do things. And you could really, and like Alicia Johnson was saying, you need to get an allergy test to find out maybe if you're allergic to something, because I experienced the same things. Like I just cannot eat the same, and as we get older, our bodies are just like, no, nope. Nope.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been, our bodies are very resilient and strong, right? It takes a lot, but after so many years of abuse, it's like, yeah, no, I'm not doing this with you anymore. So we start to have really bad reactions to food. But you all let me know and let Craig know if we can get a healthy plant-based cooking class for you men. I would definitely do it. I'll make sure to make it happen for you guys.
So I know
Thank
we're
you.
at time, but there is an app called Fit Me and Cook that you can look up, that this guy has some really good recipes. And
Can you put that in the chat?
I think it's like $4, but it's Fit Me and Cook. And
I think there's some
also,
questions in the chat too from Facebook.
Yeah, I saw a question which was about gaining weight. And so that's a myth that you can only lose weight from eating fruits and vegetables, because you still have fat that's in your diet. So if you're eating things like avocados, when I talk about eliminating the oil, again, we're talking about when you're cooking with olive oil, and when you're cooking with other oils, it can still cause a buildup of the plaque in your arteries. So roasting your vegetables in a broth and things like that is better for you. And the thing of it is that you can eat more when you're on a whole food plant-based diet. So I'm not saying that you gouge yourself, but you'll find that you have the capacity to eat more things, larger meals, and you're full. And it's not like when you eat Chinese food, an hour later, you're hungry and you want something else, but you'll eat your meals if you're making sure that they're balanced. So yesterday, I decided to cook. I had mushrooms, a mixture of bell peppers. I had a chickpea pasta with spinach in it, and then I had avocado. And so that meal had, I don't know how many calories in it. And so you're still going to get calories so you can gain weight on a whole food plant-based diet as well.
And information. Well, we definitely want to be respectful of everybody's time. Ms. Johnson, thank you so much. Dr. Green, thanks for your time as well. I know she had to log off, and all the fellas who came to sit through being educated. This is a change of pace for us. And I'm glad to see that everybody kept up with the program, because we need all of these facets to be able to be better men and to pass this and plant these seeds along. So yeah, thanks a lot. Craig, if you want to go ahead and say any final statements.
I really want to say I appreciate the ladies coming in and educating us on, how to have a better sustainability for our second level of living. And it seems like this was too short. We can have this conversation for the rest of the afternoon, but I do understand that we all have lives to live, and I just want to thank you guys. I want to thank you, brothers, for giving yourselves the opportunity at eating the right thing mentally this morning, because eating don't just consist of what you put in your mouth. It's also what you put in your mind. So I want to applaud you guys for giving yourself the opportunity. I want to thank everybody for coming, and we will have a later on class, and I believe we'll just run slides or whatever. I don't know if our host will be back, but we will have the same discussion this evening. So I want to say thank you. You guys have a beautiful day.
One more special piece before you let us all go. Today is Shanette's birthday.
My bad.
You're
right.
Happy birthday, Shanette.
Thank you.
A huge reason why the Good Life exists, and she's been dying to be in on the discussions. So she is in the barbershop for today and today only.
Imagine that. Imagine being the program developer and manager, and I can't come into the session, but I very much appreciate you all, and it's very it's a beautiful thing, and especially on my birthday, to be invited in to actually see my vision come into fruition, and just watch how beautiful this program is developing into, and to see you guys at work. And I just want to thank everybody that supports this program. And I put my email in the chat. So for any of you all who want recipes, or if you want to be get the enrollment information for the cooking class, or if you just have any suggestions about programming for the Brothers Building Brothers, I'm always open, and always advocating and fighting to create new programs for the community. It absolutely brings me joy. So this was a gift. It was a definite gift for my birthday. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to come here.
Hey, Harry, you beat me to the punch. Harry, I was definitely about to come with it. Look, you beat me to the punch, sir.
Hey, look, I was like, hey, I could be more corny. We could cue up the 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday.
Oh, we don't do that. Happy birthday. We don't do
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
From the top.
Happy birthday.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. This was a beautiful way to start Monday. I appreciate you all so much.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
And I'll say for Janelle and myself, thank you guys for the opportunity to be here. It was truly our pleasure to be here to talk to you guys. Like I said, it's truly my passion. When I think of the men that I know that have had heart attacks, and I think about our future as fathers, as your futures as fathers, as uncles, as brothers. I just would like to see you all live longer. And so I just really would. So thank you for the opportunity to be here.
No problem at all.
Thank you so much.
Thank everybody. You all have a great day. It's been a pleasure to have you all. It always recharges us as we walk this mission to continue to have everybody reach one another and spread positive energy and educate each other. So you all have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you. Hey, Dr. Marshall. I haven't seen Dr. Marshall since Street Soldiers. Oh my gosh. Hi, Dr. Marshall. All right. You guys have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.